Welcome, wayward souls. The beast of Bodmin Moor slinks through the fog of modern folklore like a shadow with claws. Its origins, a tangled mix of eyewitness accounts, government investigations, and whispered legends, stretch across decades. So light your lantern, bolt your doors, and settle in for another episode of Echoes from the Loam. Reports of a large panther-like creature prowling Bodmin Moor began gaining traction in the 70s and 80s, though tales of strange beasts in Cornwall go back much, much further. Farmers described mutilated livestock, and locals claimed to see a sleek black feline moving across the rugged landscape. In 1995, the UK government launched an inquiry into the creature's existence. And the verdict? No verifiable evidence of a big cat, but no proof against it either. The road to Penlow Farm had narrowed since Merrill last walked it. It was choked now by heather and bramble, the hedgerows swollen with time. Her boots sank into the sodden earth, each step a softly spoken memory, but the moor seemed to watch her return without welcome. She carried with her a lantern, though the sun had not yet died. Its flame flickered behind the somewhat dirty glass, casting long shadows across the path in front of her. The wind moved through the grass like breath through teeth, low, wet, whistling. The farmhouse seemed to rise from the mist, like a memory half buried, its slate roofs sagging and windows coated with years of dust blown in from the moor. The gate hung wide open, rusted to silence. No birds sang, no insects stirred, only the winds of the moor and the weight of her grandmother's name hung in the air. Inside the farmhouse, the air was only just colder than the wind that whipped against Merrill as she trod the path to the front door. The hearth was ashen and empty. The walls were lined with peeling paper and old photographs, but the faces seemed to turn away as she entered. On the kitchen table lay a journal, covered in thick dust, bound in cracked leather, its pages curling like dried leaves. Blowing the dust from the cover, Merrill opened it. The first line read, "It hunts. It waits." Something shifted behind her. Not a sound from old floorboards or rusted pipes, and not a movement of curtains in the wind, just the sense of space rearranging itself, as if the room had somehow grown smaller, as if something had stepped inside with her. Slowly, she turned to face the point it emanated from, but there was nothing. But now on the windowsill, where dust lay thick and undisturbed, a lock of black hair curled like a question mark. Merrill dared not touch it. Her mind wandered back to her youth at the cottage. She was just 6 years old. Her grandmother Dorothy had sent her to fetch water from the old well behind the house. It was dusk and the sky was the colour of red and gold. The lantern was heavy in her little hands, the flame guttering. She remembered the silence that enveloped the area. The heather had rustled, though there was no wind. And just before she reached the well, she had seen it. A shape, low to the ground, black fur slick with rain, eyes like lantern glass, yellow and unblinking. It moved like a shadow, a big cat, panther-like, but wrong in its creation. Too long in the spine, too tall on its legs. She had not screamed, she had not run. She simply blinked, frozen with anticipation, and it was gone. Her mind flashed to later when she was 10 or 11, and she had learned that others had seen it too. Farmers spoke of livestock torn open, their wounds too clean and too deliberate to be wild dogs or wolves. The newspapers called it phantom feline. The ministry had even sent investigators in 1995, searching for proof of a predator. They found nothing, and the moor kept its secrets. Her grandmother never spoke of it, but that night when she was 6, Meryl had found a claw beneath her pillow, curved and cold. And when she showed it to her grandmother, the old woman had only smiled weakly and said, "Well, there you are. It knows you now." Snapping back to the here and now, the lantern hissed softly, its flame now tinted blue at the edges. Night had settled over the moor like a shroud, heavy and pendulous. The farmhouse seemed to shrink with the dark. Walls felt as if they were leaning forward. Floorboards groaned beneath every step. Meryl sat at the kitchen table reading the open journal before her by the light of a lantern. The handwriting was erratic, slanted as if written in haste or panic. Some pages were stained dark with mud, or so she thought at first. The colour wasn't quite right. It hunts. It waits. It remembers. The last stone is missing. Do not replace it. She turned each of the pages slowly, each one seeming heavier than the last. Her grandmother had written of livestock found hollowed, their bones arranged in spirals, of villagers who simply vanished, leaving only claw marks on their doors, of a ritual once performed to keep the beast at bay, though the details were smudged, deliberately obscured. And then, as Meryl kicked off her shoes beneath the table and ran her toes across the wood, she found the floorboard beneath her warped, raised slightly, by age maybe, or by purpose. She looked around the kitchen and found a large serving spoon and used it to pry the board loose. Meryl lifted the heavy oak board and laid it to one side. She reached in, and inside lay a bundle wrapped in cloth. It was definitely old, kind of damp and tied with twine. She unwrapped it slowly and carefully. A claw. Her mind flashed back to her childhood. The same claw. The curve, the ridges. So familiar. Black and longer than her hand, it shimmered faintly, as if slick with an oily coat. The base was smooth, clean cut. It had not been shed naturally, but severed deliberately. Setting it down beside her, Meryl continued to read. The journal's papers had thinned with age, its edges browning and brittle. Meryl turned the pages backward carefully, revealing a new voice, older, more formal. The ink was faded, but the world still bled. October 12th, 1977, Bodmin Moor. I found the ewe hollowed. No blood, no struggle. Her bones arranged in a spiral, head turned towards the hurlers. Merrill paused. The hurlers. 3 ancient stone circles on the moor. Said to be the men turned to stone for playing games on the Sabbath. Her grandmother had forbidden her from walking there as a child. I saw it at dusk, black as peat, long as man. It moved like smoke across the ridge, eyes yellow like lanterns. It watched me. This matched the earliest documented sighting newspaper clippings from the farmers in the 70s reporting mutilated livestock. Wounds, too precise to be foxes or dogs. Merrill had found this tucked in the back of the journal, and one from the 80s. And the stories had grown. A panther-like creature, 3 to 5 feet long, prowling the moor. Together with another article from 1995 saying the Ministry of Agriculture had launched an investigation. No evidence was ever found, but the sightings never stopped. Father said the beast was older than the stones, said it wakes when the seal is broken. He buried the seal beneath the hearth and said it must never touch blood. Merrill rose slowly, curiously, and walked towards the fireplace, desperately hoping to find nothing. The hearth was cold, its stones firmly set in place, save for one. She pried it free, and beneath it, another bundle in wax cloth. Taking it back to the table, her hands trembling, she unwrapped it, and inside was a black stone, smooth and cold, etched with a spiral within a spiral. Merrill kept reading. The seal binds the beast to silence. If it is unearthed, it must be fed. In that moment, the wind outside stopped howling. Her lantern flickered, and from somewhere deep within the house, a sound. Not loud, not near, just the soft, deliberate thud of something walking on stone. The realization of what she had done dawning on her, Merrill shuddered. The morning came, dull, grey and reluctantly. Fog clung to the moor like breath held too long, and the farmhouse windows wet with cool condensation. Merrill packed the journal, the claw and the black stone into her satchel and headed out the door. The walk to Minions took around an hour. The path wound through heather and stone, past the skeletal remains of tin mines and the distant silhouette of the hurlers. The village itself was eerily quiet. A single shop with an old-fashioned door chime, a pub with no sign but the crumbled remains of a signpost, windows which were shuttered and doors that were barred. But one building stood open, a small museum. Its sign faded and almost bone white. Merrill headed over and pushed the door open. Inside, an old man sat behind a desk, surrounded by maps and fragments, arrowheads, bone combs, rusty blades, and such alike. He looked up as Merrill entered. his eyes lingering inquiringly on the satchel. "You've come from Penlow," he said. Not a question. Merrill nodded. "I need to know about the stones, the rituals, the beast. I've made a mistake." He didn't flinch. He didn't look anywhere but the satchel. She wasn't the first to ask about the beast. Probably won't be the last. The infamous beast of Bodmin Moor. He gestured to a cabinet behind him. "It's in there. It's only a matter of time till someone woke it up, I suppose." Merrill opened the cabinet, and inside lay a stone. Black, smooth, and etched with a spiral within a spiral. "Trethevi Court," he said. "Portal tomb, Bronze Age. They buried ash there, not bodies. Ash." He opened a drawer beside him, pulled out a page, handwritten and yellowed. "The seal must not touch blood. The claw must not touch stone." Merrill placed her stone beside his, and they matched perfectly. He looked at her knowingly. Outside, the fog had thickened. The hurlers stood proud and silent beneath the museum floor. Something moved. The old man lit a stub of candle and placed it beside the spiral stone. "You want the truth, Miss Merrill?" she replied. "Jonah. It's older than the beast, older than the moor." He pulled a book from the nearby shelf, a leather-bound ledger, and inside were sketches of claw marks and spiral carvings and a burial mound labelled Trethevi. Beneath it a chant or a poem. "Ash to ash, claw to stone, drawn to it by blood unknown. Speak not its name, nor call its kin, lest the moor breathe death again." Jonah looked at Merrill. "It's not a panther at all, you know. That's just the shape it wears. It's a guardian, or a punishment. Depends who you ask." He pointed to the map on the wall behind her. The hurlers, 3 circles, aligned with Rillerton Barrow and the cairns. That's where they sealed it. With claw, blade, and stone. Merrill felt the claw pulse in her satchel. The museum's back room smelled of dust and mildew. Jonah stood, the claw in gloved hands, its edges still slick, and Merrill laid out the journal, the spiral stone, and the blade. Jonah spread a vellum scroll across the table. It bore a chant in fractured Cornish. "Claw to stone, blade to ash. Speak the name, and silence pass. Blood must bind, but none must spill, or more shall wake with ancient will." Jonah frowned. "It's not a banishment, it would seem. It's containment." Merrill nodded, reading on further. "They didn't kill it. They bound it with 3 objects, sealed it." Jonah pointed to another map. The hurlers. Each must hold 1 item, at dusk. No blood. "Well, come on. No point hanging about." Gathering up the items, they left the museum, and it wasn't long before they found themselves walking the moor as the sun bled into the horizon. Fog rose like breath from the earth, and the hurlers loomed. 3 perfect rings of stone, aligned with burial cairns and forgotten rites. Merrill placed the spiral stone in the northern circle. Jonah laid the claw in the southern. Together they set the blade in the central ring. As they spoke the chant, the wind died. The stones hummed, and beneath the moor something shifted. Not in rage, but recognition. It had begun. The chant had ended, the stones had hummed, the moor had held its breath. Jonah stepped back from the southern circle, his boot catching on a jagged flint, and he fell hard. Reaching out to catch himself, a sharp stone edge found his hand, slicing his palm, and blood bloomed. One single drop hit the spiral stone, and in the distance, a bell rang. Not loud, not clear, just a tremor of sound, like breath through bone. Merrill froze. No blood spilled, it said. The wind returned, screaming through the moor. The fog twisted and recoiled, then surged forward like a tide of ash. From the cairns beyond the circle something rose, but not a panther, not a cat at all. A shape of black fur and bone, taller than a man, eyes like lanterns. It moved without sound. Jonah staggered to his feet, clutching his bleeding hand, his face etched with fear and realization. Merrill reached for the stone, but it was gone, and the beast stepped into the circle. They ran as fast as they could muster. The fog swallowed the circles behind them. The bell's echo still rang in Merrill's bones. Jonah clutched his bleeding hand, stumbling over heather and stone. The moor stretched endlessly before them. No trees, no shelter, just the skeletal outline of rough tor ahead. Behind them, the beast moved. Fast, not hunting them, just following. Jonah gasped as he tripped and fell to his knees. His hand pulsed. The blood had darkened, not red but black, and it shimmered like oil. Merrill knelt beside him, taking his arm. "We have to keep moving." Jonah looked up. His eyes were wrong. They were his eyes, but changed. "I hear it," he whispered. "In the stone, in the ash. It knows me." His breath fogged the air. The claw mark on his palm had begun to spread across his hands, veins branching like roots reaching towards his heart. Merrill pulled him up and they ran, and kept running before they finally reached the base of Rough Tor, where cairns marked ancient graves. The wind howled fiercely and the beast stood at the edge, watching. Jonah turned. His breath came in gasps, his veins pulsing black. The claw marks had spread to his throat now, and he could no longer speak, only echo the beast's breath. Merrill dragged him across the moor towards Trethevi, like a broken tooth, its capstone leaning, its entrance a slit of a shadow. They slipped inside. Dust clung to the walls and floor. Spiral carvings marked the stone, faint, ancient. Merrill laid Jonah on the earth, the claw beside him and the blade in her hand. She opened the journal to the final page, torn, smudged, written in blood and soot. To sever the bond, ash must seal. Blood must burn, blade must break. Speak not the name and breathe not the scream. Meryl gathered ash from the tomb's floor, remnants of ancient rites. She smeared it across Jonah's chest, and his body convulsed violently. She struck the blade against the stone. It cracked, and the beast howled sorrowfully from the moor, from Jonah's throat, from the stones themselves. Meryl whispered the chant over and over. The wind died, Jonah collapsed, and the claw turned to dust. The tomb itself sealed shut, stone shifting, ash rising, silence returning. The sun rose, pale and veiled by mist. The fog clung to the moor like breath. Meryl sat beside Jonah on the farmhouse steps. His eyes were clear. The black veins had faded. The claw was gone, and the blade lay cracked in her palm. They did not speak, and the moor was silent too. And inside on the table, the journal lay closed. The final page had vanished, and only one line remained, scratched into the cover. It does not die, it remembers. Jonah stood, his breath misted the air. He looked at Meryl and said, "I dreamt last night. I was walking the moor, but I wasn't alone." "She walked beside me," Jonah continued. "Your grandmother. She said the beast was never in the claw, never in the stone." He turned to look her in the face. It was in the voice. Meryl froze. Jonah smiled. Not cruel, not possessed, just wrong. Fog surged towards the farmhouse. The wind rose higher and higher, and Jonah whispered, "Ash to ash, claw to stone." Meryl screamed, but the moor did not echo the sound. It swallowed it. And there the tale ends for now, but the echoes will always remain. If you've enjoyed your stay here in my domain, leave your mark, a review, a whisper, a 5-star sigil. Until next time, wanderers, I've been Fauna Blakewell, and you've been changed forever.